All right, I just want to go on a quick rant. I'm going to tell this video, working is a scam, right? Work in the modern day is just a big scam. And one thing I found funny I want to start off with is I just recently went to the movie theaters, right? So, first of all, you got to pay like $15 each, for the movie tickets. And then on top of that, if you would just want a damn, little basket of popcorn, it's like what, $10, $15? Like say for instance, got a combo and I didn't know the cost of the damn combo, but I ended up getting a combo meal. And what that is just a little bucket of popcorn and a damn drink. And, it's like a nice fancy plastic cup that has to do with the movie that you're going to see, right? Like a little souvenir from the experience, for lack of better terms, right? And they just get a cheap, Chinese, little basket to put the popcorn in, but just put a couple stickers on it, that has to do with the movie that you're going to see. You know what I'm saying? So it turns out that a little combo with this little damn drink thing and this little basket of popcorn somehow comes to like $22. I was like, what the hell, $22 for just a little basket of popcorn and a damn drink? I mean, shit, this is crazy. Then, the nachos, which I didn't get, but they got them up there for like, $11.99, $10.99. You get a damn hot dog for $6. Just a single soda by itself, just like a medium size is like what? $5, $6. Man, it's getting crazy out here, man. Yeah, how is it that, a damn medium soda is like what, a half an hour of my labor if I was making like 8 an hour, which by the way I have done before. Like say for instance, like I've had to, work out in the Florida heat for like $8 an hour, had to reject $10 an hour because I didn't want to pay tax on what I make. So in order to avoid paying the tax, you got to make 8 an hour. So technically, if you do make 10 an hour, you're really making under 10 because you're paying tax on it, meaning they're deducting it from your pay. So basically, if you get paid 10 an hour, you're really getting 8 an hour. You got to think of it that way, right? You're really getting 8 an hour if you're making 10 an hour. If you're making 15 an hour, you're more likely making 12 or 13 an hour. That's the money that you get to take home with you, right? After, the tax comes out. So again, all of this is just a big bullshit scam. And then, that money deducted from you by way of taxes, it goes to things that you don't like. Like say, for instance, they'll give, a couple $100 million to the Church of Scientology. They'll give, a couple hundred, $1,000 into, researching monkey brains, $1 million here to rebuild a damn, school that has nothing wrong with it. Like seriously, like say for instance, like up the street from me, there's a school there that's only like 50 years old. And they're already saying that they have to, deconstruct the school and rebuild the damn school. And it's going to cost like, $4 or $5 million out of, the taxpayer dollars, of course. It's like, there's nothing wrong with the damn school. That they're just saying, well, we don't really like the look of it. We just want to like remodel it. So they're going to waste, $4 or $5 million to remodel the school that there's literally nothing wrong with it. And if you were to, annoy them and ask them, for like some type of valid reason, all they could come up with is maybe, well, maybe there's a mold problem. It's like, okay, but I mean, if that's the case, I mean, maybe take 200 grand and, redo the ceilings. I mean, you don't have to, tear the whole damn, school down and reconstruct it. You know what I'm saying? Like you could easily fix the problem with, throwing a couple hundred grand, to fix the ceilings, right? Where there's a, mold issue, right? I'm not going to get into the ins and outs of that. I'm just going to leave it there, but the point is, here it is. Everybody out here is being, worked to death. Like, again, I literally know people out there, man, that are having, leg injuries and, spine injuries heart, difficulties and, problems arising because of these bullshit garbage jobs that they're forced to work. People are forced literally to work their life away, for nothing. And then, the crumbs that you take home at the end of the week or every 2 weeks, depending on, when your check comes in, it's only enough to pay for your bills and get a couple, cheap garbage processed foods and then continue to, run that rat race for, the next 40 years or whatever until you might be able to retire, which in this society is becoming very less unlikely that you'll ever be able to retire. I mean, shit, I see people out there in their 80s, and 90s still working. Like, I mean, seriously, I went to Walmart and got a cashier there that's in her 90s and she's still working. Thinking to myself, I was like, hold up a second. This person's literally, half a foot in the grave at this point, and they're still out there packing groceries. And then they got this other dude that's always at the Walmart. I get to know this guy because I always see the dude like every week. Dudes, they're crippled in a wheelchair and they still put this guy, in work. You know what I'm saying? But on the other hand, there's 200-pound, 300-pound, 400-pound land whales out here that, do nothing to contribute to society. And they're getting, all of our money, paid to them. Like, say, for instance, like today that I'm recording this video, a lot of people are happy out here because they're getting paid that, SSI and, disability check comes in today. You see these people everywhere having fun, shopping, go to Walmart like I did earlier. See all these, folks out there, stocking up because their check came in today, right? Their disability or SSI check came in today, right? So, these people, don't really have a care in the world. They can live off of our, blood, sweat, and tears, right? But meanwhile, those of us out here actually, paying into this bullshit, we're the ones taking care of all them and we have to suffer. But guess what? My generation, we're the first generation that has a pair of balls to us. All that came before us is a bunch of, little sissies and, flaming raggots and, a bunch of, ballless boys that don't have, any, balls to stand up to this corrupt system. But my generation says, F this garbage, F this society, I don't care about a society that doesn't care about me. Why should I bust my balls for this garbage ass society that deserves nothing? And I'm pointing my fingers at the United States here, right? If there's any nation that's undeserving and deserves nothing, that's the United States of America. Which, from the scriptures is called Mystery Babylon the Great, right? The mother of harlots and the abominations of the earth. And that's seriously what this place is. Like, say, for instance, I went to Walmart the other day, and somebody tell me why there's this literally, fully grown man in his late 50s walking around with a damn diaper on and, a costume of a little 5-year-old. Like, I mean, I'm serious here. Like, I'm not even being sarcastic. That he got this other dude in his 70s being pushed around in a damn child stroller. I mean, seriously, I'm not even being sarcastic when I say this. I'm being dead serious. It's like, come on, this is getting to be too much. And you go to Burger King, there's some type of, flaming ragged that's, there to serve you. Then you go to another restaurant being served by a trans person. You got to be careful not to use the wrong pronunciation. If I was to call him a male, right? If I call him a male or a he or a dude, I could get in trouble for that because he identifies as a girl, right? So I can't call a guy anymore because I could get in trouble because that's not their preferred pronoun. I mean, this is some bullshit here. And, I don't want to go too far off topic because the name of the video is Work is a Scam, but this all correlates with it. This all correlates back to the topic. So here it is, everybody's out here, busting their balls and can get nowhere in life. Like seriously, there's people out here who, are working, 80 hours a week, 80 plus hours a week, and they don't even own a damn car, right? They're paying, monthly, monthly car bills, right? Monthly car bills. They don't even own a damn vehicle, in their, 50s or 60s. This is bad out here. This this is real bad. This is getting real bad. And all these people out here seem happy with that. Like all these people, like, you see these people out here protesting, like, we want livable wages. I'm thinking to myself, it's like, well, hold up a second. Y'all want livable wages. Livable wage just means enough to pay, your rent and, all the other bills. And, really that's it. That's what a livable wage is, and maybe have enough to buy some processed foods to feed your children, right? It's like, y'all don't want good wages? Like, why are people out here saying, well, we just want to be paid enough to live a regular, not fun lifestyle, right? The average, worker lifestyle. That's all we want. It's like, wow, that's bizarre to me. So, like, none of you want to be paid an actual fair wage? Like, say, for instance, if I was to say that people at McDonald's should be paid $20, people will say, oh, well, they don't deserve $20 to flip burgers. I mean, well, shit, well, I'd like to see your dumb ass, in the kitchen flipping burgers for 50, 60 minutes and tell me how you feel after that. That's definitely worth $20. Right, like y'all just want to be paid livable wages. Well, why not be paid a good wage? Like, say, for instance, like none of y'all want to ever be able to actually go out and experience the world. Like, you never want to go maybe visit a foreign country for a week or two. You never want to, be able to buy your children a car one day, or let alone have property to hand down to them, right? You know what I'm saying? I just find it odd that everybody out here just wants to be paid a livable wage, not a good wage. I mean, I just find that to be, completely retarded. And, it just shows the mindset that people have out here, right? They're, indoctrinated from the time they're little to just be a worker bee for the rest of their life. Never to elevate, anything beyond that, a bottom class lifestyle. It's real pathetic, it's just real pathetic and just childish to me, the way that the average person, is conditioned out here, in this modern society. It's really bizarre, right? It's really bizarre to me. Like, say, for instance, like I remember when I was working in Florida, someone explained to me how I have to work for 7 hours, which technically it's more because I got to get up in the morning, go down there, then I got to wait after for a ride to go back home. So really talking about 9 to 10 hours of my life that I got to invest into this job. And at the end of the day, I'm not even taking home free $20 bills, right? Shit, maybe free $20 bills if I'm lucky. I would be paid what? Say for 7 hours, I get like maybe $57, right? Nearly $60. Like, is that really worth busting my balls for this pure garbage? Like, I mean, seriously, is that really worth my time? I don't think so, right? That's a scam right there. That's a scam. All these companies and corporations out here, they're just, working you to the bone for as minimal as they can give you. It's pathetic and childish, and it needs to be exposed, right? The United States deserves to be called out for her hypocrisy. And of course, to be fair, that doesn't mean that other nations in the world are not following the same corrupt, system as well, right? Because they are. That's certainly true. But America deserves to be called out, because America is like the chief cornerstone. Right, America, as it says in the Bible, what is that? Revelation 17, verse 18, the woman you saw is that great city who reigns over the kings of the earth. Right, and that's America, right? America reigns over the earth. All nations dream of being like America. All nations set themselves up after the fashion of America. Say, for instance, you watch any of these travel vlog channels on YouTube. They travel the globe, well, quote-unquote globe, and ask the population, like, if you could go anywhere in the world, where do you dream of going and, living a life? 95% of people say, man, I dream of going to, the Big Apple or, America and, starting up my dream life, right? I want to chase that American dream. Like, seriously, like, that's what 95% of the population around the world, that's their dream, right? Is to go to the Big Apple and, make a career out of themselves. That's the dream, and that's what the average person around the world, claims they want to do. So it shows the influence that America has over the population. Like, Even Hillary Clinton said herself in 2016 when she was running for office, she said that once something is pushed in America, the entire world follows. But anyway, I want to wrap the video up with that. Don't want to make it too drawn out, and I'll close it up there.